Good evening and welcome to Ridgecrest Talk, the Thursday night edition. I'm Al Huey, without my partner Robert Eierman. He's on unofficial leave. Did he get paid for this? Did anybody tell me or not? I don't think so. Anyway, Robert's gone. He'll be back next week, hopefully, enjoying some time with his son up in Washington, doing crazy things with race cars. So maybe he'll tell us about that when he gets back. Tonight, our special guest is Mr. Tex Hoppus. Good evening, Tex. And we're going to be talking about the USO building, but Tex is the president, I think still,
Yes.
of the Historical Society of the Upper Mojave Desert. And you're retired from the Navy here, right?
I am, yes.
And you retired when?
2000.
2000. Okay, so you've been enjoying retirement for
Well, I
quite a
went
while.
back to work for close to 10 years, but
Oh, okay. But you're officially...
I'm officially retired, leading the board of directors at the Historical Society.
All right. And how long were you at the Navy base?
I was with them 35 years before I went to a contractor and went another 10 years.
Okay. And we were talking before the show. We'll give you some information about the upcoming 70th anniversary of the USO building. And I'll just let you lead a little bit on the history of the building, if you can share with the people, because there's a lot of people probably don't even know that we have a USO building. But I'm sure most people know that the USO building is here, but they probably don't know all the history. So,
Well, in brief outline form, very early in this valley's development, about a year and a half after the Navy came in and started developing its base, it asked for a USO club to be built. That was in '44. In October of 1945, they opened the USO club on Ridgecrest Boulevard. There was not much of a city there at all at the time.
yeah, because most of the civilians and all the military were living on the base, right?
What there were lived on base for the most part, yes. We have historic photos of the building looking north, and there was nothing behind it. The Ridgecrest we know today was not there yet. It was
And if you want to see some of those photos, they can come down to the USO building, and they're up on the wall there, right?
Absolutely, yes. Or they can be taken into our archives and be shown all kinds of photographic records, maps, etc. The building became almost immediately the center of civic energy within this valley. Chamber of Commerce formed and would meet there. VFW, the American Legion, all kinds of other civic organizations started using the building. It was also a place for both military and civilian people to gather for all kinds of types of events.
Were they doing USO shows at that time? Do you know? Or
Most of it, no, they did not bring up the big shows here. It was mostly homegrown entertainment, club meetings, dances, etc. Nationally, the USO organization, for the most part, stood down at the end of 1947. It re-emerged during the Korean War, but instead of remaining a USO club, it went to the county. The building went to the county, and it became the county center over at this end of the county. And after a few years, after the old jail was built, which we have now behind the historic USO building, a judge opened a courthouse, and various county offices were upstairs, and it was a county building with various activities and courtroom activities, etc., for close to 30 years. That's what we call the second historic era for the building. Then it became a City of Ridgecrest building, once the county moved out to their new complex in the late 70s. And for about 30 years, the city had it, and had some offices upstairs, but also used the auditorium for various activities, dance classes, all kinds of civic things, recreational things. The last several years that the city had it, it really was almost not much more than a storage area.
It fell into
some
a lot of
disrepair, etc.
yeah.
And about 10 years ago, the Historical Society of the Upper Mojave Desert asked that we be given the building if we can restore it. And we went through a major community fundraising project and raised enough money, used local businesses to help us restore it. We actually won awards for its historic restoration. The State Assembly designated that building as officially the historic USO building. And the Historical Society has run it ever since. We have returned it for the community to its first role as a USO kind of club. We have all kinds of events on stage in the auditorium.
We're going to have to take a break, so don't forget where you are in your thought process here.
All right.
Join us right after the break. It's time for us to make a little bit of money here. But we'll be back with Tex Hoppus here on Ridgecrest Talk. Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk. I'm here again with Tex Hoppus from the Upper Historical Society of the Upper Mojave Desert, and we're talking about the USO building here. I was just sharing with Tex while we were on that little break. It's interesting. The building opened on the 15th of October in 1945.
Yes.
Of course, it was decided to build the building in '44, which the war was still going on then. But fortunately, the war ended the following year. We had victory in Europe in May of 1945, and then Japan followed that in August of '45. And then just a couple of months later, the USO building opened. So it's kind of interesting. But, when I was in the service, particularly when I was doing my training back in Massachusetts, I used to go into Boston, and they had a USO office building there downtown. And it was primarily the hub for us soldiers to go in there on the weekend, and they would find weekend jobs for you to go make a few bucks, I washed dishes. I was a security job. I did all kinds of things, waiting tables. So the USO has been quite a help, not only putting on the shows that we're familiar with, particularly Bob Hope shows that he was famous for in the USO. So we've got the 70th anniversary coming up, and you were talking about the building before we went on break. You were talking about it had fallen into some disrepair, and then the Historical Society approached the city about taking over the building.
Yes. And we went through a major effort restoring it to its historic configuration, etc. We got awards for that. We're working toward perhaps getting it on the historic registry.
Has that happened?
We haven't gone through the whole process yet, but we've started. As the headquarters, if you will, now of the Historical Society, of course, we have the research center with all the local archives and with maps and photos and all kinds of materials that you would find in a historical society. But the building itself offers us a very special venue. because of its history as a USO club. We have regular events of all different kinds. An open mic night every other Friday. We have movie nights on Wednesdays, classic movies. Musical groups come in and use the stage for special concerts.
Just had one of those, right?
Yes. We've had several this year, actually, with musicians of national or international renown coming in. It's a community center, what I call a star in the constellation of community venues.
Mm-hmm.
We're very proud of. Families come down all the time. It's a lot of fun. And what we are doing this fall is having a historic ceremony of celebrating the 70th anniversary of the building opening, recognizing that the building has had 4 different historic eras, being a USO club for 2 years, but then a county building for 30, city building for 30, and now an historical society venue. So we're going to celebrate each of those venues in a special ceremony with other events leading up to that.
Now, was this an idea of the Historical Society to do this, or
Yes.
who was the person to come up with the idea to do this?
I would say one of our Historical Society leaders on the board of directors, Matthew Zubia, reminded us last summer, that this year would be the 70th anniversary. And we immediately understood what he was saying. It was time for us to step it up and develop the series of events that will lead to the anniversary celebration.
You had a meeting recently. I talked to someone that attended the meeting and talking about this upcoming event. Was the Historical Society the one that called for the meeting and invited different people to attend?
Yes, we have reached out to all the interested parties from today's community standpoint and from an historical standpoint. When the USO Club opened, there were private organizations that would sponsor a club, and in our Ridgecrest case, it was the Salvation Army. So we've invited the Navy to become involved. They're deeply involved in the celebration, with the commander and the vice commander and the NAWS commanding officer all getting involved in the planning and the execution. We have the Salvation Army. We have the county with Supervisor Gleason and his staff. We have Mayor Breeden from the city and her staff helping. And joyously, in my opinion, we have attracted the attention and the interest and excitement of USO National, who did not understand the treasure that they had here with one of their few original buildings still there in its configuration and operating. So they are going to be a part of it. They're sending out representatives, and they're sending out a show that will be here in Ridgecrest on the 17th of October.
Okay. And that's going to take place, you said, in Freedom Park?
Freedom Park will be the venue. We'll have an outdoor stage. They will. The city is working with USO National to take care of all the logistics, and the public is invited.
And the reason they can't do it at the USO building is you can't get that kind of crowd that you're hoping that will attend inside that small building, right?
That is correct. The building has a fire marshal limit of about 200 people in the auditorium if they're seated, and we expect
Thousands.
a lot more,
Yeah.
thousands.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about the upcoming 70th anniversary, what you know. I understand Justin O'Neill from the city is kind of the lead on this, is he, or is he not?
He's a lead on the
City side, maybe?
the city side for the
Okay.
USO show.
Okay.
Yes.
Join us when we come back. We've got to take another break real quick here. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk. This is our last segment with Mr. Tex Hoppus from the Historical Society of the Upper Mojave Desert, and we're talking about our historic USO building. Again, if you have not been there, you need to go down there. Even during the daytime, they're open a lot of times. They have a great gift shop down there.
11 to 3 every day except Sunday.
But definitely make it out for some of the events that they put on. And there is a website that they can check those events out, right?
There is a website. It is hsumd.org.
Okay, there you go. And then they have a big sign there on Ridgecrest Boulevard. Usually tell you what's coming up as far as an event. One that I would recommend, well, there's two, but one in particular is on non-flex Fridays.
Yes.
Is the open mic night where local talent comes in. Everything from, you name it, all kinds of talent comes in and gets a few minutes up on the USO stage. Great evening, and it's a little expensive though. It's $2 to get in the door. Well worth your evening down there. And then the movie night, you said, is on
Classic
Wednesdays.
movie night.
Classic
Yes.
movie night.
Yes.
Great movies. Good thing for the family on a Wednesday night if you don't have anything going. But again, we're talking about the upcoming 70th anniversary to begin in October of this year. It's tentatively the 15th of October to the 18th. And some of the events are going to be spread between the USO building, Freedom Park, and the Kerr-McGee building, right?
Only the USO and the Freedom Park. Yes.
Okay. So I'd heard something about the Kerr-McGee building. So that'll be fantastic. And someone had mentioned that maybe they were going to close down the road between Freedom Park and the USO building so people could get back.
They're going to close down Warner Street
Okay.
that Saturday afternoon and evening to set up for the USO show coming to Ridgecrest.
Cool. And the USO show is going to be free, or is there a small fee for that?
Well, the USO show and its production is USO. The Historical Society doesn't have any real control over it. We don't play a role other than we're the reason they're doing it. And the building's history is the reason. So I don't know what all of their rules are. My general understanding is that it might be free. It's certainly free to active duty military.
Okay.
So I suspect it will be free. There may be refreshments, etc., available, restrooms nearby, etc. But that whole production is a USO production with the support of the city, and the city is helping in all the ways that it needs to with traffic management and help with restrooms, etc.
Cool. And again, we were talking about the Navy's involvement in this anniversary celebration. Can you tell us any more of how the Navy will play a part in this?
The Navy has actually, and I will give a kudo to the Vice Commander of the Naval Air Warfare Center, Captain Andina. He and the skipper have stepped forward, and their staff has been very, very helpful in helping us plan for, in helping us communicate with the USO National, etc. So they're involved in that. They'll help in any way they can, but recognize it's not a Navy event, and they can't come into the city and do a lot of things because they are part of the Department of Defense. So they can go to the border of the base, and then it's volunteer work, etc. But they play a crucial role in the ceremony, the celebration ceremony, and one of the key speakers, well, both of those gentlemen, the Admiral and the Captain, will be speakers at the ceremony.
Okay. Were they requesting anything for the event that you're aware of?
No, they were offering their support.
Okay.
They were offering their help. As I said, they were crucial in establishing a contact with USO National and making that happen. And they were the reason, quite honestly, the Admiral and Scott O'Neill, the executive director, met with USO National back east and caused them to come out and visit us. And USO became very excited about learning we were here, to the point where they're going to send a show to Ridgecrest, and they may do more than that. They're still working on other plans.
Cool. All right, and then the Historical Society itself just went through an addition to the building there on China Lake Boulevard, correct? Did they not just finish up this last year on the new addition?
Oh, no, that's the Matarango Museum.
Oh, I thought that you guys were part of that.
No.
Historical. Okay,
No.
okay, I'm mistaken. So, any other events on the horizon for the Historical Society this
Well,
year?
the week in mid-October is the week. We have some what I would call roll-up events. Starting on the 21st of August, we will have an event reminiscent of its historic era as a USO club. So the Ferris players are going to come into our building. We'll have food prepared and offered, a dinner, and they will, the audience will listen to a USO show from the 40s.
Cool.
Put on by the Ferris players.
Does
And
that
then
include the Big Band Express?
no, this will be just the Ferris players.
Okay.
2 weeks after that, roughly, there will be another event at the historic USO building, reminiscent of the days as a county building. And then 2 weeks after that, roughly, reminiscent of city. 2 weeks after that, reminiscent of the days in the hands of the Historical Society, a chili throwdown. Everybody is invited to watch for publicity on all these. But then when we get to the 15th of October, there's a semi-formal dinner in our auditorium with part of the Big Band Express
Gotta
on
hurry,
stage.
we're just about out of time here.
And then the ceremony is on the 16th, followed by the USO show on the 17th, and Victory at Sea in our auditorium on the 18th. Please watch for publicity.
Yep, don't miss it. Pay attention to local events, and please attend and support our USO building. October 15th is the date you got to look for. Thanks again, Tex, for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Join us
thank
next
you.
week.